Welcome to the BrainX channel. In this video, we are going to work through question 5 from a November 2024 grade 10 exam paper on Sine and Cos graphs. Now, this question is worth 13 marks, and we are going to move through it fairly quickly because we have already covered most of these concepts in the previous videos. If any of the terminologies such as range, amplitude, period, or reflection is still unclear, have a look at the previous videos in this playlist where I explain these concepts in more detail. One quick thing before we start. In our previous videos, we used theta for the angle, but in this question, they use x instead. That is perfectly fine. Here, x is simply representing the angle. Now, I also want to recommend that you color code the graphs. For example, highlight f of x green, and then you trace over that graph in the same color. Do the same for g of x using a different color. That way, whenever a question mentions f or g, you can immediately see which graph you need to look at. Now let's start with question 1, where we have to write down the values of a and b. When I look at the equations given to us, I see that a forms part of the cos graph and b forms part of the sin graph. So I'm just going to say a is going to be green, and for b, I'm going to look at the yellow graph. In our previous videos, when we wanted to transform graphs, we worked with graphs in the form of y equals a cos theta plus q and y equals a sin theta plus q. Now remember, I already said that we worked with theta, but for this question, it is going to be x. So what we can do is I can replace the thetas with x. The letters in this question, the A and the B, are different than the ones that you are used to. But don't let it confuse you. Rather look where the letter appears in the equation, because that will tell us what it does to the graph. So let us start with f of x is equal to cos x plus a. This a is added after cos x. It is doing the same job as q did in the previous videos. It moves the whole graph up or down. Now, can you remember what a basic cos graph looks like? Let me quickly show you. It starts at 1, it goes down to -1, and it returns to 1 again. And it will be the same on the negative side of our x-axis. So the maximum value is 1 and the minimum value is -1. Now let's have a look at this cos graph here. This cos graph goes from 0 to 2. So that means the whole cos graph moved 1 unit upwards. Here it is at 1. So the maximum value for the basic cos graph is 1. And for f of x, the maximum value is 2. So you can see that this graph has moved up 1 unit. Therefore, a is equal to 1. Now let's look at g of x is equal to b sin x. Now here the b is in front of sin x. So it is doing the same job as a did in our previous videos. It changes the vertical size of the graph and it can also reflect it. So when I look at this yellow graph, I see it reaches 2 at the top and -2 at the bottom. So that means the amplitude for this graph is 2. And that also tells us that the size of the number in front of sin x is 2. But now also look at the direction of this yellow graph, the basic sin graph. Let me quickly draw it for you. It starts at the origin and it moves upwards. It reaches a maximum at 1 and then it goes down where it reaches a minimum at -1 before it returns to 0 on the x-axis. Let me just extend this. Okay, so this is 1 and this is -1. But now this graph goes downwards first. And that means that the graph has been reflected in the x-axis. So the number in front of this 2 must be negative. Therefore, b is equal to -2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to rewrite both these equations with the new values. Question 2. Write down the period of g. Now for grade 10, the period for a sin and a cos graph will always be 360 degrees. Question 3. Determine the range of f. So f is the green graph. So I'm going to mark it like that. And the range is all the y values that your graph can be. So let's have a look at the green graph. So for this green graph, the minimum y value is 0 and the maximum y value is 2. Therefore, the range is y is bigger or equal to 0 and it is smaller or equal to 2. If you prefer, you can write it in interval notation instead of an algebraic inequality. So y is an element of 0, through to 2, and it's all included. Question 4, write down the amplitude of G. Remember, the amplitude is the distance between the midline and its maximum or minimum values. We are working with the yellow graph, so this is the midline, and the distance between the midline and the maximum is 2, and the distance between the midline and the minimum is also 2 units. You can also find the amplitude by looking at the coefficient, and remember the amplitude will always be positive, so you won't write down the negative sign. Therefore, the amplitude is 2. Question 5, you have to determine the number of solutions where f of x is equal to g of x for this interval. So they want to know where the two graphs have the same y value. That means where they intersect. But now I want you to be very careful. These two graphs are from negative 180 degrees to 180 degrees, and both are included. So that means these two graphs are equal here, they are equal here, and they are equal here. But look at the requested interval. It says x must be bigger than 180 and smaller than 180. That means the 180 degree angles must not be included. Therefore, these two will not be included. So these two graphs only intersect once. There will be only one solution, and that is your answer for question 5. Question 6. For which values of x is g of x less than 0? So what they want to know is, so where must this yellow Sine graph be on the x-axis so that it is equal to less than 0? Let me explain it to you like this. When this yellow Sine graph is on minus 180 degrees, the y value is 0. When this yellow Sine graph is on 90 degrees, it is equal to 2. And when this yellow Sine graph is at 0 degrees, then it is equal to 0. And when this yellow Sine graph is at 90 degrees, it is equal to negative 2. And when it's at 180 degrees, it is equal to 0 again. So what they want to know is, where must this yellow Sine graph be on the x-axis so that this graph is below 0? Now I know that many learners struggle with these types of questions, so I'm going to show you a method that might help you to try and figure this out. What you can do is you can take a piece of paper and you can place the left edge of the paper on the left boundary of your interval, just like I did over here. And the reason why we do that is because all graphs comes from negative infinity and it goes through to positive infinity. So we always work from left to right and never from right to left. So as we are going to move the paper from left to right, I'm going to concentrate on my yellow graph. And wherever the yellow graph is above 0, I'm going to ignore it. And then the moment it touches 0 or goes below 0, then I'm going to take note of the x values. And why the x values? Because that is what they're asking for. Let me show you. As I move this piece of paper to the right, I see that the yellow graph goes upwards. At minus 180 degrees, the graph's value is 0. But I'm looking for values that are less than 0. So that one is not applicable. And as we move the paper to the right, I see that it still goes up, up, up. So it is still not applicable. Now look what is happening over here. Now the graph is going down. But does it make the graph less than 0? No, it doesn't, because I'm still above the x-axis. Remember, y is equal to 0 on the x-axis. Just a reminder, at minus 90 degrees, this graph is equal to 2. So it is still not less than 0. So let us keep on moving this paper to the right. So as I'm moving this piece of paper, the graph is still above 0 or bigger than 0. And I'm moving it and I'm moving it. And now it touches 0. And where does it touch 0? Yes, at the origin. But am I looking for 0? No, I'm not. But I'm still going to write 0 degrees because this is now where it touches 0. You will see in a second why I'm writing the 0. Then I'm going to move the paper to the right. Can you see that this yellow graph is now below 0? It's less than 0. At this point, it is actually negative 1 already. And it goes down, goes down, goes down. And here at 90 degrees, it is negative 2 already. Okay, so I'm still going to move this piece of paper because this graph is still less than 0. So I'm going to move it, move it, move it, move it. And at 180 degrees, it touches 0 again. I'm not going to go any further than 180 degrees because that is the interval for our graph. So now I'm going to remove this piece of paper. and I'm going to write 180 degrees because I know that x must be somewhere between 0 degrees and 180 degrees. That is where my graph is below 0. But now remember, 0 is not included, only less than 0. Therefore, I'm going to write that x is bigger than 0 degrees and it is less than 180 degrees. You can also write it as x is an element of 0 degrees with a rounded bracket all the way through to 180 degrees, also with a rounded bracket, because 0 degrees and 180 degrees must be excluded. Number 7 is the last sub-question for this whole question. We have the graph of f, which is the green graph, that is reflected about the x-axis and then moved 2 units downward to form the graph of h. So we have to determine 7.1, the equation of h, and 7.2, the range of h. So we are going to work with f of x, which is equal to cos x plus 1. When we reflect the graph in the x-axis, all the y values change signs. So when we do h of x, that will be equal to negative cos x minus 1. Now I'm not done yet because the graph is then moved 2 units downwards. That means I'm going to work with this part of the equation because this part affects the upwards or downwards movement of the graph. So if we subtract an additional 2 from this negative 1, we will end up with h of x is equal to negative cos x minus 3. And that is the answer for 7.1. Now let's determine the range of h. The range of the original graph f of x was already determined in question 3, and that was y is an element of 0 to 2. So let us just write it over here. We've got it as y is an element of 0 to 2. So if I reflect this original green graph on this x-axis, can you see that this value here at 2 will now be here at negative 2, and this value, when I reflect it, will stay here. So our minimum value will now be negative 2, and the maximum value will be 0, and that will be our y values. So that means if we only reflect this graph, this one here, the range will be y as an element of negative 2, because we always work from the lowest number to the highest number. So negative 2 all the way through to 0. Okay, so that is only for the reflected graph. But now what we need to do is we still need to move the graph 2 units down. So if I subtract 2 units from both of these points, we will end up with y as an element of, and then negative 2 minus another 2 will give us negative 4, and then negative 2. And that is the range of h. And that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope that working through this typical exam question helped you understand what to look for and how to approach these types of trig graph questions in an exam. I'll be doing another real exam question video soon, so keep an eye out for that. And I'll see you in the next video.